Hey everyone, Math 105, Lesson 1, Order of Operations. So you're going to meet a friend, and your friend gives you directions. Turn left, then right, and you're there. You turn right, and then left, and you're lost. Well, what's the problem? You took 2 left turns and 1 right turn, just like your friend said. But order matters, and it does in math too. So to start off, I'd like everybody to evaluate the value of this expression. But in the first one, we're going to divide first, 20 divided by 5. And the second one, we're going to multiply first, 5 times 2. Let's see how these work out. Now, when I'm doing these videos, I don't wait for you to work on your parts. All right, so if we come to something like this or your turn, just pause the video, work on it, and then come on back. So if we divide first, 20 divided by 5 gives us 4. So we're down to 4 times 2, multiply and we get 8. But if we multiply first, that gives us 20 divided by 10, 5 times 2, and then divide, you get 2. So depending on which order we do the operations, we get a different answer. So that can't happen in math. We always have to get the same answer. And imagine if you calculated your bank account one way and your bank did it another way. Might be a problem. So we're going to follow order of operations. And we're going to start by working inside grouping symbols. And what we do inside those grouping symbols is we do steps 2 through 4. So we go inside the grouping symbol and then do the order of operations, exponents, multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction. Now, if we've either simplified all the grouping symbols or there aren't any grouping symbols, then we'll move on to exponents, and then multiplication, division. And you may have seen the acronym PEMDAS, where it goes parentheses, exponents, multiplication, then division. Well, that's not exactly accurate. Multiplication and division are on the same level. So we're going to work left to right. So in the case here, this would have been the correct answer because we did the division first. The left-hand operation comes first because we had all on the same level. We had a division and a multiplication. Those are on the same level 3. So if you have operations that are on the same level, just work left to right. And then same thing for addition and subtraction, working left to right. We're always going to do addition and subtraction last. So for example, we've got an expression here with multiplication, subtraction, and division. So we're going to work left to right, starting with the multiplication. 4 times 6 is 24. All right, then to do division, 18 divided by 3. And then subtract to get 18. Your turn, number 1. Now for this one, I'm going to show you a little shortcut. If we have a couple of operations that are separated by something on a lower level, we can go ahead and do these at the same time. All right, we can do this level 3 operations if they're separated by a level 4. So I'm going to do 24 divided by 3, that is 8. 2 times 6, that's 12. Add them together and get 20. So that's a nice time saver, saves you a step. Next example. Now here we've got the division and the multiplication all right next to each other. So we're going to have to do this in 2 separate steps. We'll do 12 divided by 6, that gives us 2. All right, left-hand operation first. Then do the multiplication. And finally, addition comes last, and we get 11. Your turn, number 2. So we've got division and multiplication. We'll start on the left. 22 divided by 2, that's 11. Then do the multiplication. 11 times 3 gives us 33. And finally, always add and subtract last. Next example, this will be our first one with a grouping symbol. And absolute value bars are a grouping symbol. You get parentheses, brackets, absolute value bars. And actually the division bar is also a grouping symbol, as we'll see later on. So that means we're going to start inside the grouping symbol. We're going to start and evaluate 2 minus 4 to give us negative 2 here. Everything else stays the same. and get in the habit of writing out the entire problem. This eliminates mistakes. Write down everything that appeared in the last one, except the operation we performed. All right, next up, now we can evaluate the absolute value. Absolute value of -2 is +2. So that gives us 3 times 2 there. And now we've got something that looks like this one, where we've got 2 level 3 operations separated by a level 4 operation. So we'll do both of these. 16 divided by 4 gives us 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Add them together and we get 10. That brings us to your turn number 3. So working inside the absolute value bars first, 18 plus -30, that's going to be -12. Still inside the absolute value. Now we can evaluate this. That's going to give us +12. All right, now we can do the division and the multiplication. So that gives us 6 here. And we're subtracting, and then we're multiplying 6 times -1, which is -6. So we're subtracting -6. Don't lose that negative sign. Add them together and we get 12. Now in the next example, we see our first exponent. In an expression like this, it's important to understand exactly what the exponent applies to. Since it's outside parentheses, it only applies to the thing inside the parentheses. It does not apply to the 5. The 5 just stays as 5 multiplied by whatever we get here. All right, -2 squared is 4, so this turns into 5 times 4, or 20. Your turn number 4. All right, so now we're going to do -2 to the 3rd power. That gives us -8. So the next step is -3 times -8. Negatives cancel. We get 24. So we have 2 sets of grouping symbols. So we're going to work inside both of these, and inside this grouping symbol, we're doing order of operations. So we've got a subtraction and a division, so we'll start with a division. 18 divided by 2 gives us 9 here. Right now within this grouping symbol, 8 minus 10 is -2. -2 to the 3rd. Now we can finish here. And since we're separated by subtraction, I'm going to go ahead and do this exponent as well. So -2 to the 3rd is -8. All right, now we've got a division, multiplication separated by subtraction, so I'm going to do this. 9 divided by 3 gives us 3. And we can do this one as well. Keep the negative sign, and then 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. And subtracting negatives like adding a positive, so that turns into 3 plus 24, or 27. So a lot going on in that one. So take it one step at a time, and make sure you write down everything. Notice I wrote down everything I didn't operate on every step. That helps to keep things organized and not make mistakes. All right, your turn, number 5. Inside the grouping symbols, all right, we have an exponent here, so we'll start here, and here we just do 12 minus 7. So we got 5 minus 3 times 2 to the third is 8, and then just copy everything down. All right, now within the grouping symbol we have subtraction, addition, multiplication. So we do multiplication next. Negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. And now we're down to all level 4, subtraction, addition, so we'll just do all of these. 8 minus 5 is 3, plus negative 21 is negative 18. All right, so we got negative 3 times negative 18. Or you can think of it as 5 minus 3 times negative 18. So it's 5 minus negative 54, or 5 plus 54. Add them together and we get 59. Next up, your turn, number 6. So inside the grouping symbols, do the exponent first. And then we'll do this, 20 minus 21, negative 1, negative 1 to the third. All right, we can finish off here. So that's 15 divided by 5. And we're separated by addition, so we'll go ahead and do this exponent here. It won't affect anything over on the other side. So that'll be 3 times negative 1 to the third is negative 1. Now we'll do the division here. We're separated by addition, so I'll go ahead and do the multiplication as well. So that's 3 plus negative 3. All right, we're adding opposites, so that's always going to be 0. Now next up is expressions that have nested parentheses. And nested parentheses are parentheses within parentheses. So you're going to see multiple sets. And sometimes we use brackets so you can tell easily which are the matching pairs of grouping symbols. But sometimes it'll just be all parentheses and you got to figure it out. For these, I went ahead and used brackets. So we'll have parentheses for the inner parentheses and brackets for the outer parentheses. So first example. All right, so there's our 2 sets of parentheses. We've got the brackets for the outer one, parentheses for the inner ones. So, to work on these, always start with the inner parentheses. Makes things a lot easier to do that. Because what we can do now is we're going to add these together. And actually, since we have multiplication here and it's a positive value, we actually don't even need those parentheses anymore. So by adding those together, we get rid of one that says a parentheses and turns it into a problem that looks like the other ones. So that's generally going to be the way to go. So just get rid of those inner parentheses first. Then we're down to 1. So now we can work inside here and do 30 minus 12. And once we're down to one set of parentheses, it doesn't matter if you use brackets or regular parentheses. All right, finally multiply to get 36. But your turn, number 7. All right, so we're going to start inside the inner parentheses. Write everything down exactly as it is. And 4 plus 8 is 12, so we got 2 times 12. And parentheses are gone. Now we can multiply here, get 24. All right, finish off inside the parentheses. Subtraction. That's 9 times 12, and it gives us 108. All right, your turn, number 8. All right, we're going to start on the inner parentheses, and since we have a lot going on here, we're going to do order of operations, starting with the exponent. So 16 minus 10. Okay, so finish off inside the parentheses, we're going to subtract here. (16 minus 10 gives us 6. All right, finally subtract to get -1. All right, so we got -3 squared minus -1. All right, exponent comes next. So what are we squaring here? Are we squaring 3 or -3? Well, there's no parentheses. So think of this as being -1 times 3 squared. Using order of operations, we're going to start with the exponent. 3 squared is 9, so that means this is -9. Biggest mistake I see is people writing +9 there. So make sure you understand the difference between this and -3 squared. With this one, we're squaring everything inside the parentheses, the 3 and the negative. Negative times negative makes it a positive, so that's why this is going to be +9, and this one is -9. So we got -9 minus -1, which is +1. So that turns into -8. All right, next up, we're going to look at some expressions that have large fractions with expressions on top and the bottom. And with these, think of the division bar as being a grouping symbol. So that means if we write out something like the first example, this is exactly the same as if we put parentheses around both of those. So what that means is we have to finish off the top and the bottom, get those down to a single number, and then we can divide. Always divide last when it comes to expressions like this. So we're going to do the top and bottom separately. Using order of operations separately on the numerator and the denominator. So up top we got 8 minus 2, that gives us 6, so 5 times 6 minus 6. And on the bottom, we're going to do the multiplication. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16 plus 10. So on top, that gives us 30 minus 6 and negative 6 on the bottom. 30 minus 6 is 24. And once we evaluate this, now we're down to a single number on the top, single number on the bottom. Then we divide to get negative 4. Your turn, number 9. Order of operations up top, start inside the grouping symbol. 7 plus 8 is 15. And the bottom will do the multiplication, we get 15 plus 1. Now we can multiply on top. So that's 30 plus 2 on top, 16 on the bottom. Add them together to get 32. Now we have a single number on top and bottom. Now we can divide to get 2. That brings us to your turn, number 10. So on top, we got 3 squared. Sometimes it's nice to just do these horizontally, so I'm going to do that this time. So 3 squared gives us 9. And then the bottom, we're going to do order of operations inside the parentheses, do the exponent first. So that's 9 minus 2 times 11. All right, we can add those together to get 15 on top. And on the bottom, we got 2 times 11, that's 22. I think I missed something here. Ah, here it is. This is supposed to be 3 to the third. I misread that. Okay, so that makes more sense. 3 to the third, that makes this 27. All right, that's better. And multiply to get 22 there. All right, now still 15 on top. 2 times 5 on the bottom. We finish off the parentheses. And that gives us 15 over 10. And then we can reduce this fraction or divide to get a decimal, so it's either 3 halves or 1.5, whichever you need. All right, so that brings us to your turn, number 11. And this is just a mix of problems to go through. Work through them at your own pace, and then I'll be putting these solutions up on the board. We're doing the multiplication first here. Now we've got subtracting a negative. That turns into adding a positive. Negative 2 plus 12 is 10. So 10 for part A. All right, first thing we're going to do is inside the parentheses, evaluate that to get negative 4. Next up is multiplication. So that's negative 12. 14 plus negative 12 is 2. So 2 for B. C. We're going to start inside the grouping symbols, the absolute value bars. So that is negative 4. And then we'll evaluate the absolute value. So this turns it positive, so that'll turn into 4. 16 minus 4, and 12 for that one. D. All right, the only level 3 operation is the division in the middle, so we're going to start there, leave everything else as it is. All right, 24 divided by 6 gives us 4, and we'll add all these up. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Another one with absolute value bars here. 3 minus 6 gives us negative 3. Absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. So that's 4 minus 2 times 3, or 4 minus 6. Negative 2. F is kind of a tricky one with all those parentheses. And all those negatives too. All right, first thing we need to understand is exactly what that exponent is applied to. Well, the exponent is applied to everything inside these parentheses. So first thing we need to do is combine everything inside the parentheses first. All right, don't apply the exponent to these things until we combine them. Remember, grouping symbols come first. So here we're doing negative 3 minus negative 2. That's the same as saying negative 3 plus 2. All right, so by doing that, we removed those parentheses. We still have these parentheses. Now we can combine these two together. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. All right, now we've figured out what's inside the parentheses. That is a negative 1. Now finally we can apply that exponent. All right, negative 1 squared is positive 1. So now we're subtracting 1. 4 minus 1 gives us 3. So you got 3 minus 2 times 3. That is 3 minus 6, or negative 3. All right, g, 18 minus 2 squared over 7. So exponent first on top, then subtract, and finally down to one number on top and bottom, we can divide and get 2. H. So we have parentheses on the bottom, start there. Two minus 12 gives us negative 10, so 14 plus negative 10, that is 4. Single number on top and bottom, now we can divide to get negative 3. Now on top, we have an exponent, so we'll do negative 2 to the third power. That is negative 8. 17 plus negative 8 on top. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Now we'll combine the top. 17 plus negative 8 is 9. Gives us a single number on top and bottom. Divide to get negative 3. And finally, J. So on top, we have a multiplication here and a multiplication here separated by addition, so we can do both of those. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. And negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24. On the bottom, we have 2 times negative 1, it's negative 2, minus 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. Adding those on top gives us 8. And negative 2 minus negative 6 is the same as negative 2 plus 6. And that is 4. 2 for that one. Now, order of operations end up being one of the most important topics in all of algebra because so many things depend on it. Both evaluating expressions, as we'll see next time, when we are simplifying expressions, solving equations, pretty much everything is going to involve order of operations in some way. All right, that's it for today. Have a good one.